You're listening to the Options Insider Radio Network. For more quality options programs, visit www.theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app, available in iTunes and on Google Play.
Welcome to the Hot Options Report, your premier source for insight into the fast-moving options market. Each day, we'll track down the products that are dominating the options chains and impacting your trading account, from NVIDIA to VIX, and everything in between. If it's lighting up the options tape, then you'll find it on the Hot Options Report.
All right, everybody, that music means it is time once again for your Hot Options Report for Wednesday, October 22nd. My name, of course, Mark Longo from theoptionsinsider.com. Reminding you, wherever you're hearing this fine show, make sure you're subscribed to the full network. And, of course, if you want to go above and beyond, you don't want to miss out on exclusive shows, theoptionsinsider.com/pro is the place to go as we go on into the markets and see what was lighting up the tape out there today. A little bit of a sell-off in most of the major equity indices and, of course, a little bit of a pop in vol out there today. VIX cash closing the day right around 1860, up about 0.75 of a point, putting up 862,000 contracts today against an ADV of 838, so slightly above expectations. And the hot option out there was 120,000 of the February 47 halves. If you've been listening to our shows on the network, like Volatility Views for a while, you know the 47 half strike has been popular for quite some time in November. They just opened February not too long ago. Seems like it might have actually been a roll out to April, potentially, or at the very least, adding on to February and trading April. So April and February 47 halves. Lighting up the tape out there in VIX today as we keep on rolling out to SPY. Was it a hot day in SPY, listeners? The answer was yes, it was. 10.3 million contracts. SPY giving up about 0.5% out there today, listeners. Again, putting up 10.3 million contracts against an ADV of about 9.5 million. So coming in slightly above expectations there as well. The hot option out there in SPY land today, 515,000 of the 671 calls. Average price for these, 46 cents. So interesting stuff. SPY going out today, 667.80. So if you bought those and rode them through the close, maybe not the best day for you as we keep on rolling out to the S. The S closing just a tick below 6,700, 66.9940 to be precise. Also giving up a little over 0.5%, putting up 4.3 million, so slightly below expectations of about 4.4 million. And the hot option out there in the SPX out there today, 109,000 of the 6,700 puts. Interesting. The price for those bad boys, $8.44. So you had better opportunities intraday to get rid of those if you rode them through the close. Maybe not the best do as we keep on rolling out to small caps. Small caps giving off over 1%, closing in on 1.5% to the downside, putting up nearly 1.9 million contracts. So a hot day, the ADV out there, 1.62 million. And the hot option on a hot day in small caps, 133,000 of the 232 puts. Average price for these, $2.44. These are expiring in November, so not a 0-day contract, listeners. So once again, November downside, over $10 out of the money, dominating the tape at IWM as we keep rolling to the Qs. Was it a hot day in the Qs? The NASDAQ giving off nearly a full percent today, listeners, putting up 5.59 million contracts against an ADV of about 4.8 million. So a hot day in the Qs. And the hot option out there today, 190,000 of the 608 calls. The Q's going out 605.49 today, listeners. So average price for these was 76 cents. So once again, if you bought these and rode them through the close, not a great day. You had some moments earlier in the session to get out of these before it was all said and done. As we keep on rolling out to the single name equity options, was it a banger day? In single name equity options, the answer was no. Once again, looks like all the attention was focused on the macro. That may change. Tesla popping off after hours today, so that might drive a little bit more attention to the micro tomorrow. But today, not as much. Number 10, Intel, only 448,000 contracts to break into the top 10. Intel closing today, $36.92. So giving back some of the rally that has had of late, given off about $1.17, a little over 3% today. The hot option in Intel today, 13,000 of the 50 calls, 5-0s. Average price for these, 17 cents. These are expiring at the end of October, though. So you get a little bit more time. You get a week and change out there. Still, 50 handle. There is OI on these, so someone could have been getting the heck out of Dodge, and I think for their sake, we will hope so. Number 9, going back to the earnings calendar, it's Netflix. 485,000 contracts on the tape for them. And Netflix just getting wiped off the board, off nearly 10%, giving up almost 124 handles on the day. Actually, almost 125. So just a wild day in Netflix, closing 11/16/37. So apparently the market not liking what they're hearing out of Netflix, and the hot option on a hot day in Netflix, 20,000 of the 1,100 puts. Average price for these, $5.66. These are going out on Friday. That is an interesting strike, listeners. Given the sell-off we saw today, we closed near the lows as well of the day. So those 1,100 puts could be in play by the end of the week. We'll keep an eye on them as we keep on rolling. To number 8, listeners, it's our old pal Open. Haven't talked about them in a little bit. Back in the top 10 today, closing $6.82, off about 14 cents or about 2%. So a somewhat quiet day for Open, putting up 515,000 contracts, and the hot option out there today, 43,000 of these 7 calls expiring this Friday. So if you want to roll the bones, have a little bit of a lottery ticket, about 17 cents for these calls. Can we get there by the end of the week? We'll keep an eye on them, listeners, as we keep on rolling. To number 7, it's Amazon. A day after taking out most of the internet, they're giving up nearly $4 today, closing a little bit shy of 218, off nearly 2%, about 1.85%, listeners. Putting up 631,000 contracts in Amazon today. And the hot option out there, 87,000 of the 220s. Average price for these, $1.67. So once again, these are interesting. That was the literal high for the day. We hit 220 exactly before bouncing off of it. So these calls had a brief moment in the sun. Towards the end of the session, maybe not so much. So we'll keep an eye on those as we keep on rolling. To number 6, AMD, closing today, $230.23, off nearly $8, or about 3.25%, putting up 681,000 contracts. And the hot option out there, 41,000 of the 240s. Average price for these, $2.23. This was all opening paper, listeners. So in case you thought somebody was bailing, that's not the case. We did get there this morning ever so briefly. 240.13 was the high today. So again, they had their moment in the sun. Once again, it looks like we had a little bit of a head fake earlier in the session, which may have caught some people unawares and cost some people some money out there today as we keep on rolling. To number 5, listeners, this name was just king of the roost yesterday. This is Apple, closing today, $258.45, giving off about 4 1/3, or about 1.6%. That's after popping $10 yesterday off strong iPhone numbers, putting up 777,000 contracts. Today, the hot option out there, 76,000 of the 265s. Interesting strike. Average price for these, 54 cents. That is opening paper. Interesting strike, interesting option. Can we get back to the 265s by the end of the week, listeners? We will see as we keep on rolling. To number 4, it's Palantir, closing today right around 175.5, giving off about exactly $6, or 3.33%, putting up 778,000 contracts today. And the hot option, 43,000 of the 180s. Average price for these, $1.50. So once again, does hope spring eternal, listeners? We were flirting with that level early in the session before, again, the big head fake kicked in and Palantir turned to the dark side. Can we get back to 180 by the end of the week? We shall see as we keep on rolling. To number 3, all the way down at number 3, right before their earnings announcement. That's surprising. This is Tesla, closing today, $438.97, off about 3 2/3, or not even a full percent. So a quiet intraday period. Everyone waiting for the big number after the bell, putting up about 1.5 million contracts. And the hot option out there, 37,000 of the 4.5s, the 450s. Average price for these, $10.19. That is all opening flow. So obviously If past is prologue, some folks are rolling the bones on a good number coming out of Tesla. Can we blow through the 450 strike? In particular, get to 460 by the end of the week like these call buyers need? We shall see as we keep on rolling to number 2. Yes, number 2. Once again, we have another name taking the top spot this week because it's NVIDIA at number 2, closing today right around 180 and a quarter, putting up 2.3 million contracts today. So kind of a light day, both in movement and in volume for NVIDIA today. The hot option out there, 176,000. Of the 185s, average price for these about 84 cents. So once again, head fake earlier in the session before selling off. Can we get back there by Friday's close? We shall see. As the top dog today, Beyond Meat, closing today $3.58. Kind of unched after a wild intraday move that saw them running from $2.62 all the way to $7.69 before falling back to earth. My goodness. What a wild run in Beyond Meat. This is the name we were talking about. Puts looked like they were going out of business not too long ago. And now here we are. Short squeeze frenzy. Call it what you will out here. A lot of flow. A lot of back and forth here in Beyond, putting up 3.25 million contracts. The hot option in this tsunami of paper, listeners, 144,000 of the 3 puts. Average price for these, 41 cents. Those were looking pretty terrible when the stock was north of $7, but looking a little bit better towards the end of the day. Can Beyond keep up this madness? We will find out tomorrow, listeners. Tune in for all of our great content on the network, including, of course, the Option Block, where we talk about a lot of flow there. So if you like this show, you're going to love the Option Block. Yet another reason to be subscribed to the full network. Then we'll see you after the closing bell. Another episode of the Hot Options Report. Stay safe out there.
You're listening to the Options Insider Radio Network. For more quality options programs, visit www.theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app, available in iTunes and on Google Play.